What's going on, everybody? Bryan here, and today I'm going to bring you episode 7 of What Would Bryan Do? But before I get into the couple questions we're going to cover today, just a quick note about the gameplay. This is from a live stream of mine at the end of July. I want to say July 31st is when I recorded this. I don't really know why I've been sitting on it so long, but I have so many gameplays stored up on my hard drive now, I figured let me just clear this entire session out, because I think this is the last game I had saved from that time. And this is very obviously a game of domination on Wasteland. I do have a nuke setup run, so I know you guys like to encourage me to try for nukes sometimes during my live streams when we play Dom. But even though I'm trying for a nuke, I'm not going to sit back and camp. As you guys well know, when we play domination and you party up with me, I first and foremost want to win the game. You guys always hear me talk about take flags, defend flags, because getting the win is the most important thing to me. And if the kill streaks or the nuke or wherever else happens to come, so be it. I have no problem dying many times when I play domination to make sure we win the game. But alright, with that being said, let's get into the first question here. This question comes from Many Nukes 11. He says, if you knew your friend or family member was underage but still taking drugs and alcohol, what would you do about this? Okay. Well, I don't have many friends that are underage, because obviously I'm 38 years old, so I normally don't hang out with teenagers or anything else. But my wife and I do have, we each have our own set of nieces and nephews. My wife's niece is 16, and her nephew is, I want to say, 13 right now. I'm not really good with ages with that kind of thing. The only reason I remember her age is we recently went to a Sweet 16 party of hers, so that one was kind of easy. But I'm not very good at remembering ages, even of my own family, so please forgive me. And my niece and nephew, my niece is, I'm going to say around 10, and my nephew is maybe around 5, something like that. I said, please forgive me. Hopefully my family doesn't see this. But they know I'm not good with that kind of thing. If my wife didn't write birthdays and whatnot on the calendar, I would never remember when anyone's birthday is, even in my own family. So it's just one of my flaws, one of my many flaws. So, if one of them were taking drugs or alcohol, it depends upon the severity of it. I mean, when I was a kid, I started, drinking, I guess, at parties when I was maybe 14. And I mean, I was by no means an alcoholic. I never, even came close to that kind of distinction. But I always had friends that were a couple years older than me, during my early years, my late years of middle school and early years of high school. I had a friend, going back many years that was like 2 years older than me. So as we progressed through school together, I naturally hung out with, his friends and whatnot at parties and everything else. And my father had a beer meister in the house as well when I was younger. Which, if you guys don't know what a beer meister is, it's basically a quarter keg or a half keg in a tap. So it was really easy to sneak a few sips here and there without any kind of evidence, as long as you didn't leave a mess. There's no bottles missing from the fridge, no cans missing from the case. Just put your face underneath there, take a few sips or a gulp or two, and then clean up and move on. So, drinking beer was really no big mystery to me by my early teens. And, I think the first time I actually really got drunk and sick was when I was 14 years old. So, and also, I mean, I tried marijuana at that time, because like I said, my friends were a couple years older than me. But despite, trying pot a couple times, I kind of drew the line when, that crowd I was with kind of was going to progress to harder drugs like cocaine. The second, I found out they were doing it and exposed me to that, I pretty much stopped talking to them entirely and just moved on to a new group of friends. Because, I mean, drugs never were my thing. I mean, marijuana really never did anything for me. I mean, of course, I like, drinking beers with, friends at parties and whatnot, but I was never really into the drug scene. So, if my niece or nephew, I guess we'll focus on the older sad nieces and nephews. My wife's half of the family, since they are older and more likely to be experiencing this sometime soon. I mean, if they had a few beers at the party or whatnot, and as long as they were responsible, I mean, personally, I don't see the harm in that. I mean, it's part of being a kid, it's part of growing up. Almost every kid does it. But if they tried, cigarettes or pot, come on. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, most people my age have done it. It's just part of growing up and trying things and experimenting, and some would even say, succumbing to peer pressure, which, is not a good thing by any extent. But I would hope and expect that based upon how they were raised and the family that is in place between, obviously their mother and father first, the grandparents, my wife and myself, I'm, the cool uncle. I would fully expect, based on all the conversations that we have with them, and the way they were raised and brought up, that they would know enough not to try the harder drugs, and we wouldn't find them, doing lines of coke, doing crack or heroin or anything else. But I definitely hear about what they do. Obviously, their mother, tells my wife, and then my wife tells me, and I would just keep tabs on it, because I probably would be third in line maybe. Beyond, their mother finding out first, and obviously they would probably talk to my wife, second, and possibly me if I got involved in it, if I was asked to, talk to them about my experiences growing up. Because most people want to talk to, the aunt or uncle or someone outside, the core immediate family that's going to be a lot more judgmental, and someone's going to talk to them a little bit more honestly about it. As long as they were being responsible, like I said, and just, having a couple beers, like I said, it's part of growing up. I wouldn't come down on them too hard on it. I would just encourage them to be responsible, do everything in moderation, and don't really succumb to the peer pressure. I mean, if you try it and you don't like it, then don't do it. That's fine. I mean, that's what I went through. I tried pot, but once some of my friends were moving on to cocaine and harder drugs, I cut ties with them immediately. It wasn't something I was interested in doing. I didn't want to be around it. I didn't want to put myself at risk for, God knows what could happen when you're around people that do that kind of thing. But, like I said, having a couple beers, whatever, at a party, it's just something that most kids do around the age of, nowadays 14, 15, definitely 16 and up, as part of being in high school and hanging out at the high school parties and being part of that crowd. So, like I said, I would just talk to them and just share with them my previous experiences and just make sure that it didn't get out of control and everything was done in moderation, and that they weren't being forced into doing anything they weren't interested in doing or didn't want to take part in. Okay, I know many of you have already seen this video, and for that I apologize. This is obviously a re-upload, and I'm redoing this second portion of it, where I had previously covered a relationship question that was sent to me. Over the course of today, I received several messages requesting for me to remove the video for various reasons, which I'm really not going to get into in the course of this video, because honestly I don't even really understand the reasons why I was being asked to take it down. Some of the tone and parts of the messages really were not making much sense to me whatsoever, and I'm just too old to be dealing with that kind of stuff. I don't want to be bothered with it. So since I still had this on my hard drive, which I was pretty sure I did, I let them know that if it was here, I would just redo this portion of the commentary, because I did not want to delete it and redo the entire part, because obviously I did cover someone else's question in the first half of it, and this was nothing but more than a small, quick subset question, which only took about, 2 minutes for me to answer? Not even. So I figured I'd just redo this portion of it, and like I said, for anyone who's seen this before, I do apologize. Like I said, I just really don't understand all the circumstances as far as why the need would be there for me to remove this. But, like I said, rather than continue to get messages and have any bad blood between myself and any of my subscribers, which is the last thing I want, I do this for fun. I do this to, for all you to enjoy and entertain you, as well as, get in the games with all of you and interact with all you in the comment section. I said I don't want to upset anybody by any video commentaries or videos that I upload. So even if I don't understand the reason why in a video such as this, it was asked of me to take it down or change it, so I am changing it. But with that being said, I guess going forward I'll be a little bit more cautious in some of the relationship questions that I take from you guys, just to avoid anything like this happening in the future. So, like I said, that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that topic. Just good. There's my nuke. I said quick last note about the gameplay here. I did get the nuke, and my chopper gunner absolutely raked face. And I don't know if you guys remember this from that stream or not, but you guys were yelling at me to get out of the chopper, get out of the chopper. And I think someone on our team, maybe one of the randoms, triple capped and just pushed our score over the edge, and I did not end up actually getting the call in the nuke. I probably would have been wise just to stop shooting and let them shoot me down so I could call it in real quick, but oh well, we still won the game, it's all that matters. So if you guys have any other questions for me, please feel free to either send me a message or leave them in the comments. And as always, I hope you really enjoyed the video. I will talk to all of you soon, and I hope you have a good one.